I'll never forget the moment I stepped out from behind the tea tray in that fancy Wan Chai hotel suite. The room was a pressure cooker. Mr. Liang Wei, this billionaire, was firing off Cantonese so fast the translators were drowning, and a $4.8 billion deal was about to crash. I'm just a maid, right? But when I spoke up in perfect Cantonese, pinpointing the exact financial clause they'd all misunderstood, every jaw in that room dropped. Me, Aisha Okoye, the black woman they barely noticed, suddenly held the key to saving their deal. Have you ever surprised people who underestimated you? Drop your stories in the comments, and subscribe for more. A hushed gasp swept through the presidential suite of the Grand Lotus Hotel in Wan Chai, Hong Kong, as billionaire Mr. Liang Wei's sharp Cantonese cut through the room. His word a rapid-fire barrage that left Pinnacle Investments negotiators and their translators grasping at straws. The $4.8 billion deal, a transformative urban redevelopment project for Kowloon, teetered on the brink of collapse after 3 grueling days of stalled talks. Pinnacle CEO Michael Carter had flown in with his sharpest negotiators and 2 professional translators, but the cultural and linguistic divide had widened with every passing hour. The translators, despite their credentials from elite Asian language programs, struggled with Mr. Liang's rapid, colloquial Cantonese and the intricate financial jargon he wielded like a weapon. Carter's latest proposal on profit sharing had been met with a curt nod from Mr. Liang, who then turned to his advisors and unleashed a torrent of Cantonese. His tone was sharp, his gestures animated, deliberately excluding the Americans. The translators exchanged uneasy glances, their notes a mess of half-caught phrases. Carter felt the deal slipping away. Months of preparation, millions in legal fees, and the promise of sustainable urban masterpiece in Kowloon, all crumbling over a communication breakdown. Then a calm, confident voice cut through the chaos. "If I may, Mr. Liang," came my words in flawless Cantonese from the sideboard where I'd been quietly refilling tea. Every head turned toward me. Aisha Okoye, a black woman in the hotel's understated black and white Maid uniform. The room froze. Mr. Liang's advisors stared, mouths agape, while Pinnacle's team blinked in disbelief. Carter's deputy, Richard Turner, half rose, ready to intervene, but Carter's hand on his arm stopped him. "You speak Cantonese?" Mr. Liang asked, his tone a mix of surprise and skepticism. "Yes, sir," I replied, my posture poised, my Cantonese carrying the melodic cadence of Hong Kong streets. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding about the contingency clauses in Section 4.3. You're concerned they could dilute your voting rights if certain benchmarks aren't met, correct?" Mr. Liang leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "And you understand the financial structure of this deal?" I nodded respectfully. "I do, sir. The translations have missed some nuances in the financial mechanisms. Mr. Carter's proposal ensures mutual protections, but the terminology hasn't been conveyed accurately." The room held its breath as Mr. Liang studied me, his gaze piercing yet intrigued. "How does a hotel maid speak Cantonese and grasp international finance?" he asked, his tone shifting from dismissive to genuinely curious. The silence was deafening. Every eye fixed on me, the woman who'd been invisible moments before, now commanding the attention of billionaires and executives. I kept my composure, standing tall despite the weight of their stares. "I hold a master's degree in global economics from the University of Hong Kong, specializing in Asian investment frameworks," I explained in Cantonese, my voice steady. "I worked 2 years at the Hong Kong Monetary Authority under Dr. Chan Kwok-wing, analyzing cross-border investment structures. I returned to support my family after my father's passing. As for the language, I grew up in Guangzhou from age 10 to 18, where my mother taught at an international school. Cantonese became my second tongue, and I honed it navigating local markets and academic circles." Mr. Liang's advisor, Mr. Chung, whispered to him, and recognition flashed across his face. "You worked on the Victoria Harbor Sustainability Project," he said, a statement, not a question. "Your risk assessment models for green financing were groundbreaking." We study them at our firm. I incline my head, a small smile escaping. Thank you, sir. It was part of my thesis work. Carter, unable to follow the Cantonese, but sensing a shift, interjected. Miss Okoye. Aisha Okoye, I said, switching to English effortlessly. I've been servicing this suite for 3 days, overhearing every detail. There's a translation error on the governance clauses, causing confusion. Mr. Liang turned to Carter. Your translators know standard Mandarin, but they miss our Cantonese financial lexicon and cultural context. Ms. Okoye understands both. He faced me. Would you assist us with appropriate compensation? I glanced at my watch, a simple digital piece clashing with my expertise. I can stay an hour before my evening PhD class at HKU. After that, I'd need to arrange with hotel management. Carter nodded swiftly. I'll handle it. Pinnacle will compensate you in the hotel. I felt the room's dynamics shift, my presence no longer peripheral but central. Mr. Liang's advisors, initially stunned, now nodded approvingly, while Pinnacle's team exchanged glances, grappling with the reality that a Maid was steering their billion-dollar deal. My heart raced, not from nerves, but from the thrill of being seen, truly seen, for the first time in that room. I took a seat at the conference table, no longer the Maid but a linchpin in a $4.8 billion negotiation. The polished mahogany felt foreign under my hands, yet I moved with quiet authority, clarifying terms that had tripped up the translators. Mr. Liang, I said after a detailed Cantonese exchange, your concern isn't the profit split, but the governance triggers in a downside scenario. In Hong Kong, control is sacred, a cultural cornerstone. Turning to Carter, I added, Mr. Carter's metrics reflect U.S. fiduciary duties, not distrust. The translation muddled this intent. The room's tension began to dissolve, replaced by cautious optimism. I navigated both sides, translating not just words but cultural undercurrents. For Mr. Liang, I explained American corporate governance, emphasizing Carter's legal obligations to shareholders. For Carter, I unpacked Hong Kong's emphasis on decision-making authority, a value rooted in local business ethos. My dual perspective, honed at HKU and the Monetary Authority, bridged gaps that had seemed unassailable. Mr. Liang's advisor, Ms. Wong, scribbled notes furiously, her earlier skepticism replaced by respect. Carter's team, initially wary, began deferring to my clarifications. I caught Turner whispering to Carter, "How did we miss her?" I ignored the comment, focusing on the task. By the time I had to leave for my class, the sticking points were unraveling. Mr. Liang's team and Pinnacle's lawyers were drafting revised terms, their dialogue now fluid and constructive. Mr. Liang stood as I gathered my things. Ms. Okoye, your insight is invaluable. Can you return tomorrow after your classes? I'm free after 2 p.m., I replied, my voice calm despite the adrenaline. Carter added, Ms. Okoye, would you consider a consulting role with Pinnacle? We'd pay standard advisory rates. I paused, weighing my responsibilities. I'd need to arrange coverage for my hotel shifts. I support my younger brother's education, so stability matters. We'll cover that, Carter assured, his tone earnest. As I left, I felt their eyes on me, no longer invisible but a force reshaping their world. The next day, I arrived at 2:15 p.m., traded my maid's uniform for a navy blazer and skirt, a leather notebook replacing the tea tray. The shift was subtle but profound. Mr. Liang greeted me with a nod reserved for peers, and Pinnacle's team saw me anew, not as staff but as an expert. The hotel manager had been supportive, noting my reliability. Aisha's overqualified, he'd said. She's been balancing work and her PhD for 2 years. Over the next 2 days, I went beyond translation, proposing compromise language that balanced Liang Enterprises' control concerns with Pinnacle's performance needs. I suggested a tiered governance model, ensuring Mr. Liang's voting rights while aligning with U.S. regulations. Ms. Wong praised the approach. This preserves our authority without stifling the project's viability. Carter's team nodded, impressed by the elegance of the solution. Mr. Leong shared anecdotes from his early days in Hong Kong's property market, testing my knowledge. I matched him, drawing on my monetary authority experience to discuss liquidity risks and green financing. His respect grew, evident in his questions, now less about challenging me and more about collaboration. Pinnacle's junior executive, Emily Chun, began seeking my input on technical points, a stark contrast to her earlier indifference. By the third day, the deal was ready for preliminary signatures. Mr. Leong praised me to Carter. Her restructuring of the governance clauses is elegant, protecting both sides. As the signing concluded, he approached me. My firm is launching a sustainability division in Hong Kong. We need your dual expertise. Would you consider a role after your doctorate? My heart skipped. I'd be honored, sir. Carter chimed in. Pinnacle would value your expertise, too, Ms. Okoye. I nodded, weighing the possibilities, my mind already racing toward my dissertation and my brother's future. 6 months later, the Kowloon project broke ground, its eco-friendly towers rising as a global symbol of sustainable urban innovation. Now Dr. Okoye, after defending my dissertation on green investment frameworks, stepped into a director role with the joint venture. My new office overlooked Victoria Harbor, its waters shimmering under the morning sun. On my desk sat a jade paperweight, its cool surface catching the light, paired with Mr. Liang's note, to the one who speaks the language of progress. May you continue to shine. The moment felt surreal. I thought of the hotel staff below, servers weaving through guests, cleaners polishing suites, porters hauling luggage, each with unseen talents. My path from sideboard to boardroom was forged through resilience, rooted in my mother's Guangzhou lessons and my late father's unwavering belief in me. Pinnacle's consulting fee, equivalent to a year's hotel wages, had eased the burden of funding my brother's education, letting me focus on my PhD. But beyond the money, the shift from invisible to indispensable redefined my world. Carter visited, his polished demeanor now humbler. Dr. Okoye, we owe you more than this deal, he said, gesturing to project blueprints. You expose our blind spots in negotiation and in seeing people. I shared stories of Guangzhou's markets, where I learned Cantonese haggling with vendors, shaping my grasp of financial nuance. He listened, a far cry from the man who'd overlooked me serving tea. The media hailed the project but missed the real story, a Maid's voice saving a billion-dollar deal. I kept Mr. Liang's note on my desk, a reminder of that pivotal day. Preparing for my first board meeting, I vowed to seek hidden brilliance in others, honoring my own journey from the shadows to the spotlight. The Kowloon project's first phase dazzled, its sleek, eco-conscious towers reshaping Hong Kong's skyline, drawing global acclaim as a pinnacle of sustainable design. As Director of Sustainability Integration, I oversaw metrics for my dissertation, ensuring alignment with international standards while honoring local values. Mr. Leong invited me to present at a Hong Kong investment summit, my name now whispered in financial circles. On stage with industry titans, I spoke with authority forged in Guangzhou's markets, HKU's lecture halls, and the Grand Lotus's suite, my voice carrying the weight of a journey no one could have predicted. Back at the hotel, I launched a mentorship program for staff, connecting them to education and opportunities. The manager, inspired, partnered with universities for scholarships. I thought of my brother, thriving in his studies, and my father, whose belief in me lingered like a guiding star. One evening, Mr. Leong invited me to the presidential suite as a guest to celebrate the project's milestone. Sipping tea, I watched the new maid move quietly, her eyes sharp with untold dreams. I smiled, knowing she, too, might one day step into the light, just as I had.